Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, this is Mr. Hornsby 3. This is the Mr. Hornsby 3 show, and today I'm going to be talking about a bunch of anime TV shows, the biggest anime TV shows that have come out over the years. But before I get to that, got some unfortunate news to frickin' announce. And sadly, yesterday, Ozzy Osburne passed away, 76 years old. And it, totally took the music industry by storm because, usually on Tuesdays, MTV Classics plays old school hip hop and some current hip hop with the yo hip hop thing. But last night they played nothing but Ozzy Osburne stuff. And you know what? The reason why I started out singing the Iron Man beat is because that's my favorite Ozzy Osburne song. It's the Iron Man song. Even before I knew who Ozzy Osburne was, even before I got into metal, because before I was a fan of metal, I was a big fan of rap. But yeah, unfortunately Ozzy Osburne passed away. And people talk about Michael Jackson being the king of pop. People talk about Madonna being the queen of pop. People talk about Elvis being the king of rock and roll. I have no freaking clue who the king of country music or whatever is. But I'm going to say I know Rob Halford from Judas Priest has been called the metal god. But I'm going to say, even though he didn't like his music classified as metal and didn't like being known as a metal singer, that's what he's classified as. And I'm going to call Ozzy Osburne the king of metal. And I'm going to put it in the title when I put the title up after that. But rest in peace, Ozzy Osburne, king of metal. Even before I got into metal and that, I knew who Ozzy Osburne was. Because Ozzy Osburne was the face of metal for so many freaking years. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't probably have people like Metallica and all that. I mean, yeah, he did Sabbath stuff first, and then he was with, then he was solo and all that stuff. So, yeah. Ozzy Osburne, king of metal. Rest in peace. My thoughts and prayers go out to his family, his friends, and a lot of fans that were big Ozzy Osburne fans. And I became an Ozzy Osburne fan when I got into metal. So, yeah. A lot of his songs I really like. Alright, so now that we got that taken care of, let's talk about the biggest anime TV shows. Sorry. Eat my snack. This video is sponsored by whoever made this granola bar. But give me a minute. So I'm not trying to do this to drag out the video, just I need this as fast as I can. One more minute and I'll be ready. So after 4 minutes, let's get into this. So we're going to talk about the biggest anime shows that were the biggest mainstream anime shows. We're going to talk about stuff like Dragon Ball Z, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece. I mean, Inuyasha. Can you consider Inuyasha a big mainstream anime? Probably. Sailor Moon. And I would talk about Voltron and Speed Racer, but if you saw my video last week about cartoons that we didn't know were anime, a lot of people didn't know those shows were anime. People knew Sailor Moon was anime. People knew Dragon Ball Z was anime. People knew Bleach was anime. People knew all that stuff was anime, so yeah. Also, we'll talk about a few other newer freaking ones. And unfortunately, yeah, I gotta talk about Naruto. But you know what? We're starting out hot. We're starting out big. We are starting out with the biggest anime show ever. And that is Dragon, Rock the Dragon Ball Z. Dragon, Rock the Dragon Ball Z. And I remember when I got into Dragon Ball Z, I was like almost an adult. I know a lot of people seen it when they were kids. I've seen freaking people do YouTube channels on Dragon Ball Z. I've seen people freaking talk about how Dragon Ball Z inspired them in their life to be better and all that. My cousin Brandon grew up as a kid watching Dragon Ball Z. I was like a teenager when Dragon Ball Z came out. And you know, it was really the only first, I guess you could say I watched Ronin Warriors a little bit. It was the only anime show I actually watched that I knew was an anime. As a, you know, throughout the years. But, I mean, one of the best things about Dragon Ball Z was not just the action, but you had good storytelling, you had good slice of life moments, you had, you know, epic battles. You know, the stakes were so high in Dragon Ball Z, and I think that's why so many people were disappointed with Super. Because, and like I said, it would have made more sense, and I'm going to keep nailing home this fact, hammering home this fact, would have made more sense if Dragon Ball Super took place years and years after the frickin' Majin Buu saga. Because you knew there was no stakes in Dragon Ball Super. You know there's no stakes in Dragon Ball Daima. You know they're going to find a way to beat these characters and move on with their lives. Even though they try to make you worried about the Tournament of Power, and they try to make you think something was going to happen with the freaking Zamasu Black Goku arc, we all knew they were going to win eventually. Now, did we know that Trunks was going to somehow be so powerful that he's more powerful than Goku and Vegeta, who were Super Saiyan Blue? I mean, I don't think so. But yeah. Oh, fudge. Oh. I'm going to talk about something else too when I get done talking about all these shows. But Dragon Ball Z, man, that was must-see TV every week. If you missed episodes of Super and that, you really didn't care because it's like, we know what's going to happen. Especially with the first couple of arcs. The first couple of arcs were Battle of the Gods, which they already made a movie of. And then the Resurrection F arc, which they already made a movie of that. So we knew what was going to happen. We knew that Goku and them were going to beat them because we had already seen the movies. So it made no sense to put those two movies in as arcs. But you know what? I guess that was a way to introduce people that didn't see the movie, which I'm pretty sure almost everybody's seen the movie because there's Dragon Ball Z. We hadn't had Dragon Ball Z for years at the point that Battle of the Gods came out. And we hadn't seen anything else Dragon Ball Z outside of that. So, you know, I could get why, but like I said, a lot of people probably wouldn't have seen the freaking movie anyway. So, I don't know what the big deal was. We knew they were going to beat, we knew what was going to happen with Beerus at the end of that arc. We knew what was going to happen with Frieza at the end of that arc. I need to be honest with you. if I was reading the manga with the Granola, Moro, and Black Frieza stuff, I'd be like, well, we already know they're gonna beat them because, I mean, hell, I mean, this is based between the events of after they defeated Boo to before the point where Goku decided to train frickin' Oob. So, I mean, we knew they were gonna win, so there was no real stakes involved. Kind of like when they frickin' started playing Dragon Ball after they had already had Z showing in America. You're like, well, you already know what all happened. I mean, we see that Goku went, I mean, we see that Piccolo went good. We see that, Tien and all them went good. And all that stuff, so, I don't know. But, yeah, Dragon Ball Z, just one of those shows that you remember everything about it. No matter how long it's been since you've seen the show, no matter how many years it went by, you always remember all the stuff about it. That's how much of an impact that show made on a lot of fans of anime at the time. I mean, and heck, it's to the point, and me and Brandon did a video on Facebook a couple years ago where me and him had a debate about, Street Fighter trying to copy Dragon Ball Z. But the thing was, Dragon Ball Z didn't come out in America until 2 years after we had already had the Street Fighter 2 movie. But people still say, oh, it's copying it. And I've even seen frickin' places like IGN even call it a copy. Like, how? Unless you were watching the Japanese version somehow prior, you had no frickin' clue anything about Dragon Ball Z until Dragon Ball Z came to America. So yeah, I mean, come on now. Seriously.
Sorry to interrupt.
My beautiful wife coming in here. I'll make sure you close the door back behind you. Oh, go. But, yeah, I mean, come on now. Dragon Ball Z was like the most... Yeah, I mean, even today, if you ask somebody about anime, the first thing they're going to say is Dragon Ball Z. That's how popular and that's how big Dragon Ball Z has been over the years. You see people wearing Dragon Ball Z merchandise. They've had a ton of games. They've had, spin-off shows. They've had mangas. They've had, all kinds of stuff. And to this day, you still see people wearing Dragon Ball. Like, I don't know, what was it, a month or so ago? I was down in Newport for my ambassador thing. And I had my Dragon Ball Z shirt on. And I went to get a Dixie Chili, and the dude at Dixie Chili was just, was just admiring my shirt because he was a fan of Dragon Ball Z. He's like, so did you like Dragon Ball Z? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I loved that show. It was great. He's like, oh yeah, I grew up watching it. I'm like, yeah. It's a good show. I was a teenager when it came out, but yeah, I still watched it. But yeah. Yeah, Dragon Ball Z is like the biggest recognized anime out there. No matter what anybody will say about it. I mean, like I said, there's tons of YouTube videos. Tons of YouTubers that have based their whole channel around stuff like Dragon Ball Z. And honestly, that shows you. That's like Dragon Ball Z. Which, this could have been something else I could have done a comparison to this with X-Men, the animated series. People know what Dragon Ball Z is. People know what X-Men the animated series was. But, yeah, so what a freaking... So, yeah. Dragon Ball Z, most iconic, the most popular characters of anime is from Dragon Ball Z. Goku, Vegeta, Raditz, Nappa, Gohan, even though Gohan always had his hand held. That's besides the point. Anyway, Piccolo. All the characters people all remember from Dragon Ball Z. Now, I mean, it's still popular to this day. I mean, you see a lot of Dragon Ball Z stuff all around the world. There's even a float of Dragon Ball Z and the Thanksgiving parade. So yeah, that's how big Dragon Ball Z has become. Alright, next up, let's talk, oh god. Oh my god, why am I going to torture myself? Just give me 1 minute. Gotta relax. Let's talk about Naruto. You know what? I understand why kids like Naruto. He's a kid. He's a hero. He's a super strong character and all that stuff. All the other characters from Naruto super strong. It's had a bunch of spin-offs, bunch of games, all that stuff. Kind of like Dragon Ball Z. But, God, I just can't stand. I can't stand Naruto, the character. Can't stand all the... Now, yeah, there was maybe a few times there was maybe some gay innuendo with Dragon Ball Z, but not as bad as Naruto. Come on now. But, yeah, I can't stand some of the gay innuendo on that. And, you know, I felt like Naruto is like the kids' version of Dragon Ball Z. I'll say that. Only difference is Naruto and them are kids. Goku and them were adults. You know, Goku was a kid in Dragon Ball and GT and Daima. But he was kid size. He wasn't actually a kid. He was still like however old Goku is. And I don't think they've ever freaking mentioned how old Goku and them are in these freaking shows. I don't think we've ever heard about how old Goku is, how old Chi-Chi is, how old Bulma and all them are. Or Vegeta. You know, Piccolo was like 4 years old, so I don't know. At one point he was 4 years old, now he's probably like 10. I don't know. But, you know, Naruto, yes, it's the kid version of Dragon Ball Z, pretty much. I just don't like it. I'll never be a Naruto fan. Ever. In my life will I be a Naruto fan. Alright. I need a palate cleanser, so that's all I'm going to say about Naruto. You know, and I tease my nephew Bubs, Gene's son, all the time about, you know, Naruto. Also tease my cousin Chrissy's son Trevin about Naruto. You know, I also tease my nephew Gregory about Naruto. So I tease him about Naruto. But you know what? That's the anime they grew up on and they liked. And, you know, so, you know, I can't, you know, say too much more. Especially to my nephew Gregory. He could probably beat me up now. I mean, he's super jacked now. No. I'm just joking. But anyway. He wouldn't try to beat up his Uncle Michael anyway. He loves his Uncle Michael. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Naruto, a lot of kids grew up on it, enjoyed it, and that was their childhood, so. I don't like it. I don't care to like it. I'm not going to pretend like I like it. I'm never going to watch Naruto. Never, ever, 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 ever. Oh, Chris Rock right there. Or Chris Tucker. Yeah. Ever, 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 ever. Alright, now I need a palate cleanser after having to talk about Naruto and, you know, kind of talk nice about Naruto. So, it's kind of like how when I need a palate cleanser to talk nice about the Cincinnati Bengals. By the way, football season's coming up. Month away. Well, preseason starts a month away, but frickin', you know, the regular season's in September. But yeah, it's coming up. Coming up. So I'm going to talk about something that I did enjoy as a teenager as well. And that's Pokemon. But you know what? When I got introduced to Digimon, I actually kind of like Digimon better. And you know, I know a lot of people love Pokemon. Pokemon's still big to this day. You know, you got Pokemon games, you got, you know, toys, you got freaking Pokemon merchandise, like all these other big animes. That's one of the biggest things about it. But Pokemon, yeah, you know. Pokemon's alright to me now, but I like Digimon better. I mean, I thought Pokemon was a little lighthearted. Some of the later Pokemon, like one time I seen a part where, you know, Ash, you know, like, oh, this is my partner Pikachu. That doesn't sound right. Yeah. And we've had a freaking Pikachu movie. That's how popular Pokemon's been. We got a Pikachu movie. Starring Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu. It's called Detective Pikachu. Then again, we also got a crappy Dragon Ball Z movie. Oh, God. Naruto fans should be happy you didn't get a crappy Naruto live-action movie. Like, Dragon Ball fans had to tolerate Dragon Ball. What the hell was it? Fucking, I don't know. That movie sucked. Dragon Ball, The Legend Begins, or some crap like that. I don't know. Just sucked. I thought Cha Yun-fat played a good Master Roshi. And, of course, it has Emily Rossum, my favorite thing about Shameless, until they, wrote her off the show. And kind of bashed her toward the end of the run of the show. Like, how dare you talk about my Fiona like that? How can I be doing Fiona like that? No way. But, just to chat with, as Goku sucked. The lady who played Chi-Chi sucked. The guy who played Tien sucked. The guy who played Krillin sucked. Did I already say Yamcha? I think so. Yeah. They all sucked. All except for Cha Yun-fat as Master Roshi. I can see Cha Yun-fat being an old pervert, though. I'm trying to teach my students something. And they're just like groping a chick or something. No. Yeah, remember, that guy was in The Corruptor. Come on now, with Mark Wahlberg. No. Anyway, and he's been in a bunch of other movies, so yeah. Mainly martial arts movies. But, yeah, Pokemon, that was a phenomenon when that came out. Heck, just like with Dragon Ball Z, phenomenon when it came out. And we got freaking Pokemon. And then we got Digimon. I like Digimon better. I'm sorry. I liked Pokemon. I thought the Mewtwo movie was good, but then after that, I'm like, yeah, it's getting lame. Brock, was a pervert. We never found out if Ash and Misty were ever going to get together, but apparently they didn't, so I don't know. And, it's pretty much the same thing every week. And, but with Digimon, like I said with Dragon Ball Z, there was stakes. Same with Naruto, even though I hate the show. Some of the storytelling and some of the stakes in it are pretty good. But, there was stakes in Digimon. The fate of the universe was in the hands of the Digi-Destined. And, they came through and beat everybody. So, yeah. I think Digimon's better, but Pokemon is a bigger named anime. It's just plain and simple. Pokemon is bigger named. I would say Sonic X, but is Sonic X really an anime? I think so, but I don't know. I know Sonic from the freaking games, Sonic, Sega games were my thing. Sonic X, I thought it was an alright show. Because it would come on either before or after Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2003. But, Pokemon, yeah, man. I'd say Pokemon, on all the anime we're going to talk about, it's probably up there in popularity with Dragon Ball. Maybe even a little more popular than Dragon Ball. Who knows? But, yeah, Pokemon is, really a big anime. Especially if you've watched it over the years. Now let's talk about one that my wife would probably be happy for me to talk about if she was in here right now. That's Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon, I know it was for girls, and I've seen some dudes that have, actually watched the show and actually praised it as well. But I'll be honest with you, I was never a fan of Sailor Moon. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. But, I can see why dudes might have liked it, because at the point when they're transforming, it does look like they're freaking naked, but they just got the freaking glowing stuff. So, yeah, but Sailor Moon, it's a big popular anime, especially amongst a lot of women over the years. I've seen, people cosplaying. That's Naruto too, with Dragon Ball Z, you've seen people cosplay. Naruto, you've seen people cosplay. Pokemon, you've seen people cosplay. At comic convention and all that stuff. Same thing with Sailor Moon. People dressed up like that freaking dude that Sailor Moon was in love with. But honestly, I'd say in America, I don't think Sailor Moon was as popular as it was in Japan. So yeah, And that's why, I really just, I'm talking about this shortly because, one, I wasted like 4 minutes. Well, I didn't waste 4 minutes because, I had to tribute to Ozzy Osburne, and then I wasted a couple more minutes eating my freaking healthy snack. But, Sailor Moon. I see girls to this day that still wear Sailor Moon stuff. I see girls that watch Sailor Moon on Netflix or whatever, or when they had it on Toonami Rewind. Which, by the way, I cannot believe they just took that right back off. Because my favorite thing about Toonami was the Toonami Rewind. All the old stuff on Toonami is good. Some of the current stuff they've had on Toonami, we've gotten stuff like Attack on Titan, which is a great show. We had the end of Bleach run on that. We've had My Hero Academia and all that stuff run on those places. But honestly, it's not like when you had a Dragon Ball Z and all that stuff on there. Or the Gundam shows, or when Inuyasha first started, and, all that, Maybe I'm just getting too old to enjoy newer anime, because I only enjoy the old stuff that I grew up watching and that I watched, throughout the years. Except for Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball Super, really, if they would have just did that years and years after the Boo thing, I think that show would be as big as Z, but it's not. Same with Daima. Years after the Boo saga would have been fine. And honestly, I think, Daima fits better as a short-term problem than freaking what they're doing with Super. Because it's like, we know the guy in the demon world, he was a bit of a threat, but he wasn't as big as a threat as, some of the big threats we've had in Dragon Ball Super. So, we'll have to see. I will say, one thing I do like about Super is they did canonize Broly, one of my favorite characters. They did give us Broly. They gave a lot of fans what they wanted in the Return of Frieza. I don't know. I just think Frieza is overrated as a villain. I mean, seriously. I am so sick. When I watch Dragon Ball Z, or I watch somebody who's a YouTuber that talks about Dragon Ball Z, I get so sick and tired of hearing about Frieza. Frieza has kind of become the Joker of Dragon Ball. But, I don't know. I don't know. I just, Frieza, he was a big menacing threat at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z. Now, eventually Goku and them's going to get strong enough to beat him. And then they gave him an extra force, Frieza Gold, and now Frieza Black, where he knocked out freaking Ultra Vegeta or whatever. Ultra Ego Vegeta or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. Frieza's just become one of those overrated villains to me. I mean, why can't we get that for Cell? I like Cell better. I liked Majin Buu better. I know it's more personal with Frieza because he destroyed the Saiyan race, and Frieza had a beef with Goku's dad and all that stuff, but I mean, come on. It's like with the frickin' X-Men movies from Fox. I was a fan of Magneto, and then they made Magneto pretty much the top villain in the original 3 X-Men movies. And then we get a lot of Magneto stuff in the First Class movies as well. I mean, it's just like, God. I'm just so sick of hearing about Frieza. So sick of hearing about Magneto. I don't want to see Magneto. I don't want to see Frieza. Or nothing. I mean, it's just, too much to deal with freaking Frieza, man. Why can't we get Cell back? Or, why can't we get Raditz back and he's, like, super uber strong now? He's figured out how to become a Super Saiyan now. Him and Nappa figured out how to become a Super Saiyan, and they're going to go after Goku and Vegeta for what Goku and Vegeta did to them. I mean, why can't we get something like that? Why do we got to keep going back to Frieza? Golly. Always going back to Frieza. People complain about other supervillain characters. getting too much spotlight. But then we keep giving spotlight to fucking Frieza. Oh, God. We should not see Frieza ever again. He got beat by Goku. He was done. And that cell they had in that frickin' superhero movie is not the same cell I wanted to see from the original Cell Saga and the Cell games. No way. I didn't want that one. Screw that cell. Give us the old school cell. But God, I'm just so frickin' tired of them just going back to Frieza every frickin' time. It's like, why? I still got a couple more anime to talk about. And I'll be done because I want to talk about JoJo's and Bleach. What I thought, yeah. Let's get into Bleach. Bleach, you know, again, I was a fan of. I know my cousin Brandon liked Bleach. I know Bleach has become one of the biggest modern day animes. Kind of up there with stuff like JoJo's and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, they even made a new Bleach show that runs on Toonami right now. So, I mean, hey. Yeah, I would like to put shows that I liked when I grew up on, but I know they're probably not as big. Like, you know, Fist of the North Star. That was not as big of a Main Street show as a Dragon Ball Z or something. But you know what? I love that show. I remember when I played that freaking anime All-Star games with my cousin Brandon when he had it. And I seen the main guy, Kenjiro, or whatever his name was, from freaking Fist of the North Star in it. And I seen Jojiro, my favorite Joestar, which I'll talk about when I get to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I seen those two in it, I'm like, whoa, yeah. You know, I wanted to get that game. I honestly did. Because I like Fist of the North Star. It was a great show. Very underrated anime show. And I think a lot of people should check it out. Especially if you call yourself an anime fan. That show, I mean, especially the way he just messing people up. And he didn't even use nothing but the power he had in his fist. He was just super fast, whooping somebody's ass like blah, 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 blah. And then somehow he'd hit the pressure points while he's doing that and make the motherfucker blow up. I mean, come on now. That was glorious. Every time you see it, it'd be like, and then, boom. That's like, you know, that show should have been bigger mainstream show than what it was. But, you know, I think they only showed it on, what was it, Cinemax? Yeah. But hell, that show, you know, Kenjiro was a badass. He didn't even need no Super Saiyan powers. He didn't need no stupid Reaver powers. He didn't need no stupid Fox powers. He didn't need no stupid power of the frickin' moon or any of that crap. He would just take his fist, nail every pressure point on somebody super fast, like boom, 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 and then boom, they'd be dead. Fist of the North Star was awesome. Y'all should check out Fist of the North Star if you've never seen it. Check out Fist of the North Star. That show was just awesome. I mean, every time I watch that show, I was like, whoa, hell yeah. This is my show right here. I mean, especially when he just whoops somebody's ass and just be super lightning fast. It was like watching a freaking anime version of Steven Seagal. You know how Steven Seagal had the lightning fast martial arts? But Steven Seagal couldn't blow off people's heads in any of his movies. Freaking Kenjiro would be able to blow somebody's damn head. He'd be like, boom! And wow! Boom! Anyway, I'm getting off track from Bleach. Yeah, Reaver powers is what frickin' some of the Bleach characters have. But, you know, maybe it's called something else. I don't know. But I'm calling it Reaver powers. Yeah, so. That show was the bomb. I don't give a damn. That show rocked. And that should have been a big mainstream frickin' anime. But my cousin Brandon had no frickin' clue who Kenjiro was. I'm like, you never watched Fist of the North Star? You gotta watch that, man. Especially if you got Crunchyroll, because I think that's what it's on. You got Crunchyroll. Go watch Fist of the North Star, man. That show was the best. I don't care what anybody says. That show was awesome. Anyway, back to Bleach. Yeah, I mean, Ichigo, he was pretty awesome too. But you know what? I don't know too much about Bleach, so I can't speak too much on it. But I do know it's had a lot of games. It's had a lot of, you know, merchandise. It's had all of the other stuff that a lot of these top mainstream animes have had over the years. But yeah, man, come on now. Kinjiro. Yeah, and I was like, man, just have a Kinjiro take out Jojoro. It was amazing. Makes me want to go buy that game, honestly. Now, if you watch Fist of the North Star, not to sound inappropriate, but you watch that show, you feel like you're a man. That makes your dick hard. Who's gonna be like, dang, he's a pervert. Very colorful language. But yeah, man, you're gonna freaking feel like a freaking man after watching that. People talk about Dragon Ball Z. Shoot, go watch Fist of the North Star. Shoot. Anyway, let's get to JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. I have enjoyed JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. I love it. I did not like the fact they killed off almost everybody in part 6, but then again, they kind of retconned it and they're all still alive. They're just different people. All that, and it's like, no! Why couldn't JoJo just be the main frickin' star throughout the whole frickin' JoJo run? Why did we have to have him die? I know they were trying to make it more realistic, like, you know, you get older, you get weaker, blah, 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 blah. But come on now, frickin' JoJo took out Dio. This show started with frickin' Jonathan Joestar taking on Dio. He beat Dio, but then somehow Dio took over his body and killed him. So we had Joseph Joestar, who frickin' didn't even interact with Dio until the starship, whatever it's called, the one that had Jojuro in it. And then after Jojoro's story's over, then we get Josuke. And Josuke was alright, that's cool and all that. Giorno, he was alright. Then we get the focus on Jojoro's daughter. And you think she'd be stronger. And you think she'd frickin', you know, inherit her dad's powers. But apparently not, because that frickin' guy killed all of them. And Jojoro even couldn't even stop him. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. Come on, man. I know after part 6, the main storyline was finished. But it does look like part 7's coming out soon. I seen an advertisement for it at FYE a few months ago. And I gotta say, you know, like I said, it's a very popular anime. A lot of people love JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. And you can say that about stuff like Inuyasha, you know, and maybe Attack on Titan and all that. But these are the ones that get talked about the most. Like, people have done YouTube channels on these, like Naruto and Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon and all that stuff. They built their YouTube channels around those animes. So, yeah. But yeah, I love JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. I mean, yeah, they do a little too much of the gay innuendo, like, especially as you start getting into later. And I hear it gets even worse with part 7 on up, so we'll see. But you know what? Why couldn't Jojoro just be the frickin' main character of the whole frickin' JoJo's Bizarre Adventures? Why not? He's the one that ended up beating Dio for good this time. He's the one that killed him. And he was putting up a good fight against the villain in part 6, but, you know, I don't know. Why couldn't they call for frickin' Josuke to come and help? Like, hey, Josuke, we need your help here. Why didn't they call Josuke or something? I don't know. Yeah. Maybe Josuke's like, screw this, I ain't doing nothing. I had my battle. Yeah. But, yeah. I think my least favorite out of the JoJo shows was probably the one with Giorno. I just didn't care for that one. Which was part 5. I didn't care for the Giorno one. 6 I liked. 4 I liked. 3 I liked. 1 and 2, the parts, I liked those too. But honestly, boy, I think part 2 I, was watching here and there. Part 3 I watched every single part of part 3. And I watched every single part of part 4. Watched every single part of 5 and 6, but they had 6 on Netflix, so I caught it, watched it all, and I still think Jojoro should have been the man in JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. But hey, Goku can get stronger as he gets older. Why can't Jojoro get stronger as he gets older? Or Vegeta can get stronger as he gets older. Why can't frickin' Jojoro get stronger? But there is one more anime I got to talk about. Despite what I feel about the main character, which I'll talk about what I feel about the main character here in a sec. But One Piece. One Piece, just like Naruto, except for they're pirates, they're hunting for this crazy treasure, they ate some bubblegum fruit, you know. And you know, the thing about that is, you know, they're plastered all over. All these anime I talked about, they are plastered all over merchandise. Every single anime thing I've talked about is plastered all over any kind of merchandise, whether it's a toy, a shirt, a freaking action, a freaking video game, whatever, man. They are plastered all over the place. But, yeah, I gotta say, I like One Piece. I think it's a good show. I haven't watched any of the recent episodes, but Luffy D. Monkey, the main character, is super annoying. He's like Naruto levels annoying. At least Naruto, I'll say this, at least Naruto's not as annoying as Luffy D. Monkey. And I like One Piece better than I like Naruto. But boy, at least frickin' Naruto is not that annoying as frickin' Luffy D. Monkey is. I mean, Luffy D. Monkey is one of the most annoying anime characters I've ever seen. Outside of Kaneki from Tokyo Ghoul, I was crying like a little punk every time he was threatened. Like, you know, until he frickin' turned into, until he went full on with his vampire powers, then he turned into a cool character. Before that, he was a frickin' punk crybaby. I'm like, oh god. Why does this guy gotta be the main character? Why can't we focus on Toga or frickin' someone else? Not frickin' Kaneki. But yeah, Luffy D. Monkey is annoying, but I still like One Piece. I just, you know, pretend like I just totally ignore everything Luffy says. So I don't get super annoyed with it. Maybe that if I did that with Naruto, maybe I wouldn't hate Naruto as much. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on these mainstream anime shows I talked about. Let me know what you think. Do you think Inuyasha's a mainstream anime show? I think it could be. Attack on Titan could be one too. I mean, that's a pretty popular anime. But is it on the level of a Dragon Ball Z and all that? I don't know. But anyway, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. You know. And let me know if you guys think Luffy D. Monkey's annoying. And let me know what you guys think of Naruto. Because, shoot. Naruto, I just can't stand Naruto. I can't. But anyway, yeah. Don't forget to tune in Friday. Big live stream. Doing all the reactions to the Comic-Con news. And boy, I'll tell you what. It's official. I'm done doing freaking deadlifts. Because every time I do deadlifts, I have back issues. And deadlifts is what started this back issue. And then I did deadlifts today because I was working my legs. And, oh boy, freaking back just has not been the same since I finished that workout. It's not as bad as it was almost a couple months ago, but gee whiz. I have to give up that deadlifts, man. I can't do no more deadlifts, man. It's freaking giving me too many back problems. But, yeah. Also, I will announce what I'm doing in a couple weeks. So, in a couple weeks, coming back. Now, next Friday, I will still do a playthrough. I'll have a playthrough of Ninja Gaiden. That's the only video I'm doing next week. I'm going to take a little bit of a mini break and get prepared for, of course, Halloween Run. Because Halloween Run for me starts in August, so yeah. Now, in our household, we start celebrating Halloween in August. We start watching horror movies. We start, you know, finding anything we can to do spooky. And I start talking about a lot of spooky stuff. But yeah. But in a couple weeks, I'm going to do a Korn CD review. And, I don't know. I'll probably do Life is Peachy. I got some things to say about Life is Peachy. And, you know, maybe people will agree with me. Maybe people won't. But, yeah, I'm going to be talking about Life is Peachy. I'll review that CD. And then I will probably talk about why I think Halloween H2O is overrated. Or was it I don't know. Then I already do, I don't know. I have to go back and look at my videos. I don't know if I did that last year or not. Or maybe it was New Nightmare I did last year. But whichever one it was, I'm going to talk about that. But anyway, that'll do it. I'll probably talk a little bit about Shark Week on the live stream as well this Friday, but I'm mainly going to be talking about all the Comic-Con news we're getting. Preview night should be coming up soon. But anyway, I mean, it's today, so we'll see. But anyway, that'll do it. Please like this video, subscribe for more. And like I said, if you want to comment on your thoughts on shows you think are mainstream anime that I didn't talk about in this video, you know, let me know what you guys think of Naruto or whatever. You know, just let loose. Let's not get too douchey, and let's not get douchey in the comments. But you know, we could have some fun with stuff, like you know. But anyway, catch you guys later. Peace out.